Good morning and welcome back to Hammond's Upholstery. Got something a little bit interesting to do now. Excuse the heater going in the background, but it's chilly in here, so I'll just put that on for a few minutes. We've had a customer come in with a part of an old leather sofa. For whatever reason, they got rid of this sofa and the customer stripped off the leather off of the back portion of it and wants us to make him a footstool out of this leather to go with what he has left of the suite. He has the 3-seater and the chair left. So fortunately I had a base in stock, so I thought, well, let's have a go, let's do it for him. So let's spin you around and I'll show you a bit more detail. So here we have the base, the frame, hardwood Sapele frame. It's been webbed up some time ago and canvassed and stuck up on the shelf waiting for a project to do. The legs are here. The customer supplied the legs. I have to admit that I don't think they're particularly great. These are the brackets for them. Durability wise, we'll see, but that's what the customer supplied. And here's the leather off of the back of the sofa. Let's spin it round so you have a better idea of the orientation. So these were the back cushions on the sofa. We're going to use one of these face cushions as the top and then the outside back for the borders. So that's my plan. You can see what had happened here with the sofa. This is the reason why he got rid of it, is the colour started to come away in this portion. I would imagine that's where his head was leaning. That's what we're on with. So I need to break the back down into its component parts and then on with upholstering the frame. So first off with the frame will be the top part, which we'll wrap over, and then we're going to have a border from about here underneath. So very simple stool, but the customer's okay with that. It's elasticated, so it should be fine, still give some comfort. So let's crack on with that. I'll get the leather broken down into its component parts and then on with putting some foam on the top. Right, so there we have it broken down into the usable parts. This piece I'm going to use for the top. It's just wide enough. This stool top is going to be quite flat, to be honest with you. It's not going to be bulbous or domed because I'm limited by what I can get out of this. And this portion here we're going to cut up to make the borders. So that's that. Next stage is to upholster the top. There you have it. So there we have it. The bits of leather that we're going to use. This piece here I'm going to use for the top. It's just about going to do it, so the top is going to be quite thin, but it will work. And then this is going to be used for the borders. So that's that cut. Next job, upholster this top. Now, as you can see here, we don't have a lot of leather to come down the side here, so the foam on the top is going to have to be relatively thin. I wanted to use a piece of 2-inch foam, and then Lux Bond over. I may not be able to do that. I may still be able to use a piece of 2-inch foam, but I'm going to have to chamfer the edges, I think, to bring it down over here for this to work. The only other way to do it would be to sew an additional piece onto this edge here. Bearing in mind I've only got this to get the borders out of, it's going to be a little bit tight with what I've got. None of the bits that I've cut off are big enough to add on to here. I'll have to check, I'll double check and see what I've got. Hopefully there is a piece bigger enough, then that'll allow me to make a slightly thicker top, which I think would look a lot better. So I'll have a rummage around with what I've got left out of the scraps, or what I deem to be scraps. It's all scrap really. And hopefully I've got a piece that I can sew onto there to make this wider. So we'll be back shortly, fingers crossed. Piece of leather salvaged, so we're going to join that to this piece here. So actually have a better idea. It's going to have lots of stitching in it, but the customer was okay with that. They understood what they were asking, so we just need to join these two pieces together. I need to cut this as a straight line first, then mark out where I'm going to join them, and then that'll do the top portion, and I'll be able to do the back or the top, or upholster it, stuff it up how I want to do it, rather than skimping on it, just to be able to use the piece of leather that I've got. So let's just get this cut with a nice straight edge. We want to take off the minimum that we can. Plenty there, plenty here. This is the limiting factor, this piece is smaller, so I've got to position this to be able to use the maximum of it that I can. I think that's going to be with a join there. Still going to be tight. I may position this a bit further over. This join here may be visible. I didn't want to, but I'm going to have to use it as if it's going to be joined. So sew these two pieces together, and then I can crack on with stuffing the top up. So here we have the stool top. I'm going to put a piece of inch foam in the middle just to give it a nice dome to the top rather than looking completely flat. Probably have just used ½ inch would do, but I don't have any of that in stock at the moment, so inch can do. Centralise that. Then I'm going to glue this to it that you've just seen me cut. So we're going to glue this with the chamfer on it. You're going to see the reason for the chamfer in a minute. So let's do this. So some glue from the top, if you don't want it floating. Now we're going to staple the foam edges over. So we're going to staple straight through this edge of the foam here. I hope you can see that. Staple straight through the edge of the foam here. This is why we've left a good inch of thickness for the foam, so it will hold a staple. If we'd chamfered it right the way down, it probably wouldn't have held a staple. So that's the reason for that. So I'm going to start off with the centres and work my way to the corners. I'm just going to roll it over. And staple it ½ inch down on top of that. This will give us a nice roll to the edge. about using an edge roll. Combine profiles of foam, polyester, all sorts of things to create an edge roll. But with this technique, it's not foam creates the edge roll itself. Creating a nice edge, which is what I wanted to achieve. Got a big enough piece of leather now to allow me to do this. There's a little bit of excess foam on the corners here. Just going to trim that off with a craft knife. Okay. There we have it. The stool top. You can see the profile there. We've got a nice rounded edge here which will come over and create a nice profile. We can staple our border up to here. That's come out really well. Got a little bit of a dome in the centre from that 1-inch foam. That's that part of the job done. Straightforward, easy enough. When you know what you're doing, and capable of making it up as you go along. But it's the experience that allows me to do that. Right, so let's get this on the cutting table and have a look at where our top's going to go. I am going to mark the centres on this, just so I can try and keep the stitch lines in the top straight. We don't want them twisted and being wobbly, so we'll try and keep them as close as possible. So let's get this marked up with some centre marks. And then we should be able currently waiting for foam to come in to allow me to finish off some other jobs. So this is a nice little infill job. Of course I'm waiting for materials, foams and fabrics. It's nice to have a few of these little jobs in stock. When customers come in and they want to book jobs in, I say, well, I can book a job in and give you a date to actually start work, but that's excuse me, going to be further down the line. If you're willing for me to have this in stock, I'll get to it as soon as possible on days like this when I'm waiting for something else. What did I do with the leather sofa? There it is. Right, so here's our lever we're going to be using for the top. That should be fine now. Just transfer my marks for the centre. Onto the face side. We're going to give the top a spray with some silicone, and we'll see if we can't get this stuff on. I could put a layer of Lux Bond over the top of this foam, but I don't think it's going to achieve anything at this point. Let's see what lines I can get straight. It's yeah. Well, it's definitely patchwork. I want to lose this one here on the corner. Right. I have to try and pull this fairly tight because some of the stitchings have got curves in it. Where it's been stitched up for the backs, it may have had a curve stitched in it to allow the dome for the cushions. The problem with that now is we need to stretch that out, otherwise the top's going to be baggy. It shouldn't be too much of an issue, but I'll start off by pulling it on the stitch lines. Okay, right, a few more staples. So right, so we've got it stapled, we've got some tension in it along the stitch lines. It's come out fairly tight, it will come out tighter as we go, but I'm pleased with that, how that's coming out. There's only one stitch line that could cause me trouble, and it's this one here. Let's spin it around. when I pull this corner over, we're going to end up with this bulk here. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. So let's get the corners pulled. So pulling it diagonally, so from the centre out, because we're going to have 2 pleats on each corner. We want the pleats to be equal on each corner, because they're round corners. Then diagonally, smoothing it out with my hand, putting some pressure on it. The 4 corners. Let's start up with putting the pleats in the corners now. If we pulled the diagonals correctly, the pleats pretty much fall into position naturally. Hadn't pulled them correctly in the first place, so I'd struggle with the corner pleats. So each stage has to be correct, whether it's from webbing and canvassing, putting foam onto the cover, they're all important. And make life easier further down the line, better quality product at the end of it. So this is the first bulky corner. Am I able to get a pleat in there? So yeah, it's going to look a bit different to the other V-pleat corners, but it's got a lot more bulk from the stitching and leather in it. I can feel this part of the leather here has got a waxy feel, so that's where it's been worn slightly. It's got some oils on there. It's the long edges done. The short edges are exactly the same. Pull that out. So I have to, so it's nice to see somebody recycling, reusing. That's what we like to see, rather than throwing it away. Just going to find reupholstery is better for the environment. It's not always cost effective, but the only reason it isn't always cost effective is because people buy cheap furniture to start with. I understand why there's cheap furniture out there. Not everybody can afford expensive furniture, and people don't seem to have the patience or the want to save up nowadays and buy something that's going to last them 20, 30 years. And fashion, furniture is a victim of fashion. But if you do look back over the years, a lot of furniture designs, certainly upholstery designs, have been around for a long time and only been very minimally. So that's the leather stapled all the way around now. Get a nice sharp craft knife and we'll trim that off. A sharp knife is safer than a blunt knife. This is thick leather on this sofa. I'm not sure how old the sofa is, or was, should I say. The leather's lasted very well. I suggest it wasn't a cheap sofa. Hence the customer wants to try and do something with it. Get this trimmed off. And I deserve a cup of tea for that. Next will be the borders. I need to mark the height of the borders. They're just going to be simply back tacked. We don't have enough to do piping, and I don't think piping will go with the rest of the suite because there's no piping on the rest of the suite anyway. It's just got this what I call French stitching, decorative stitching on it. So we'll just back tack the border on with a bit of 1/2 inch foam underneath it. So there you have it. Stool top covered, patchwork, salvaged hide. I'll come back to you once I've cut the borders and we get the borders on. Right, so on with the borders onto the stool top. Hopefully you can see well enough. I've spun it around a bit in the camera. So first off, we're going to mark where we're going to staple or back tack the leather. So just going to mark the leather here and here. Join the two dots up. one piece of leather cut from the outside back. I'm going to try and position it so we don't have any joins around the edges or on the corners, or overlapping. So we've got a join here in the leather, so I don't want another join on here because it's going to get very bulky there. So I'm going to just off center this. It's a patchwork style, it's not going to affect the look. We haven't got to try and get this in the center. So I'm going to staple along the staple line. So, cut that salvage off so it don't get in the way. Get some cardboard tacking strip. Enough potentially to go right the way round. Just going to check that matches the line. It's just above that line, which is spot on where we want it. So we know that we're going to be covering the staple. Now, with these ends, we're going to alternatively go under and over. I'll to explain that better in a second. Okay. Let's show you on this end where you can see. So we're going to have a join where this simply folds over on the end. The other lever comes round and over. So I'm going to go right the way round in that manner before we put the foam on. On the corners where we've got a bulk of the lever, bit tap down with the hammer. So I'm going to go this way round. I'm going to go anti-clockwise round. Piping off, same as we did on the other end. A bit of that, don't need all that. So we've got mark again. What's that staple line? Both ends. Join it up. Incidentally, the pen that I'm using is a leather marking pen. It's like a gel pen, but it's washable. You can get a cloth and wipe off any marks. And being silver, it stands out well on most colours. Usually on silver, it's new. Don't need me to tell you that. Again, just check. That's going to cover the staples. So I need to do the other long edge really next, so I can finish this off. Three. So, just got to repeat this process all the way around the stool. Then it's ready to have the foam put on it and simply pull the edges over. So I'll come back to you when we're ready to pull the foam over. So So that's the lever on. Let's get the 1/4 inch foam on. I'm stapling this up properly with that tacking because we don't want it to roll down and create unsightly lumps. Sometimes you can back tap the foam as well as you're back tacking the lever. Way round the belt. Making sure that the foam covers the corner. Go. This is only 1/4 inch foam, so I'm not concerned about trimming it off or the cover over. It's not going to be an issue. Start with the pieces of leather that go under. Get my wedge strainer. I want to use the wedge strainers just on the joints. Right, so you can see this here. We've got this fold coming around the corner. I want to keep this as least bulk in here as possible, because it's going to be bulky enough with the joint coming over there. So put a staple in there, and I'm going to cut a lot of this leather out here. You don't want to go right the way up to the corner, because then there's a chance that it could be seen. Same as the corner. This end as well. With the bulky joint, get the web strainers on them. And then the ends, as you can see here, hopefully you can see here on your screen. I'm going to cut out a bit of this. We're simply just going to fold that back in line with the corner. Web strain, get nice and tight, please. they have the corners, so we're going to do that on all of them, and then have a look at the feet, see how these brackets attach. I think they attach after we put a bottom cloth on it, so we'll get the bottom cloth and we'll come back to you when we're attaching the feet. Right, so that's the bottom on the stool. Pretty much that's the top done now. Okay, you can see that. There's a lot of leather under these corners, so they get a bit bulky, so just give it a tap down with the hammer. It look a bit crisper. Okay, so attaching these legs. Now, I don't know if you can see that there's an angle on this leg, so the legs will be pointing outwards, never inwards because they'll collapse, always outwards. So that leg needs to finish on the thread that way. Okay. So we're going to put them in the corner. We're going to mark the corners, the centre of the leg, and we're going to mark that using our guide. We've got plenty. We want them relatively close to the edge. So we're going to go 5 centimetres to the centre. The legs have been supplied by the customer. So we're going to use them. That's what the customer wants. I did warn the customer I didn't think these are going to be particularly strong, but as it's only a stool, it shouldn't be much of an issue. The screws that they have supplied with these fixings, they've got to go through this plate. These screws are minimal length, they're not even 20mm, they're only 18mm. So if I've got something suitable that's longer, I think I'm going to change them. But it is governed by the clearance on these fixings. So we don't want something with a massive head in there that's going to get away. So we're going to use these longer screws. These are 30mm, so we get a stronger fixing. So mark them onto the centre. Let's try one, see if we need to pilot. The screw fixing shouldn't do with these screws, they are a sub-cutting. I'll show you on one of them, and then I'll do the rest of them. Down the what until you finish item. I'm presuming the length on these threads has been governed to make sure the legs outwards, but you don't want to have any looseness in it, so I'm not sure if we just have to crank it round. I think that's all that we can do. Crank it round and we get the angle in the right place. So there we go. That's one leg on. I'll do the other 3 and we'll show you the finished product. Right, so there we have it. That's the legs on. Stand it up on the trestle so you can see. And there is the finished product. Try and steady the camera. So there you go. One stool made out of recycled leather. There you go, not bad, that's quite interesting. I was unsure about the wood colour on the legs. There's a bit of a contrast. I think perhaps some mahogany ones would have been better personally, but they may match the customer's furniture, so there you go. I'm sure the customer will be very happy with it. As always, thank you very much for watching, especially through till the end. Please like and subscribe, it means a great deal to us, and I'll keep putting the content out there. As always, this is purely entertainment. It's not meant to be an instructional video. It just shows you how we do something here at Hammond's Upholstery, or I do something here at Hammond's Upholstery. If you pick up any tips or tricks along the way, that's great. I look forward to reading your comments. I'll try to help everybody if I can with your questions, but there you go. Instead of putting your old sofa in the bin, chopping it up and scrapping it, why not do as this customer did? Make something useful out of it. Recycle, as we're all encouraged to do nowadays. If you can't recover the furniture, perhaps have a stool made out of it. But there you go. So thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.